So today's quick tip is a super simple one, but I felt like I had to record it because it's something I learned quite late as a music producer, and I wish I learned it a little bit sooner. It's all about mixing and adding a brand new element to your tracks. So I'm back again with another one of my quick tips. Every day in January, I've got a brand new music production tip for you. 31 days, 31 tips, and today I'm talking about a very simple mixing technique that I learned quite late that I wish I'd learned a bit sooner. Now, when you're making a track and you're adding elements to it, it feels like the latest element that you've added kind of sticks out within the mix, and especially when you're listening to that track back. But this little technique that I learned quite late in the game is actually a fantastic thing to help combat that. So let's jump into Ableton and I'll show you exactly how it works. So I've got this track here within Ableton. It's actually an old idea that I'm trying to rework. So I'm kind of adding some new drums in there to kind of see how I can kind of transform it into a brand new track. Now I've got this kind of loop going within here, and this is how it sounds so far. So it's grooving quite nicely, and I want to add another hi-hat into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop this layer into it, this single loop into it. Now obviously this is quite high in the mix, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down in volume. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually decreasing the volume of this hi-hat until I feel like it fits nicely within the mix, so it feels like part of the track. Now if I was to go away and then come back to this a little bit later, I'd probably feel that that hi-hat sticks out like a sore thumb. It's just a weird thing. When you're adding new elements, you seem to kind of almost exaggerate the volume level. It seems to always be a little bit higher than you actually want it to be. And it feels like it's from this approach of going from a high volume and decreasing it until you get to the volume that you want. If you flip that on the head, then it seems to work really well. And that's what this trick is all about. So rather than taking it from a high volume, rather than taking it from 0 dB, which is what it usually starts from within Ableton, before you play this track back, take the volume right the way down so it's actually muted. And then as you're playing the loop back, then start increasing the volume of that hi-hat loop or whatever loop you're introducing, and then you'll find that you'll be able to mix it a whole lot easier. So as you can see there, I mixed it from nothing basically, from minus infinity, and I kind of increased the volume until I got to a volume which I kind of thought fit nicely within the track. Now, if you look back on this video, you'll probably notice that the volume levels are completely different. I think it was about -9, -8 when I was kind of mixing it from a high volume to a lower volume. But mixing it from a lower volume to a higher volume, it's now -18, so it sits quite a lot lower within the mix. So it is quite strange taking that same loop but using two different methods of mixing that we'd have different results, and it's quite a bit of a difference. There's quite a bit of difference in volume between those two ways of doing it. Now the first way, let's call it the top-down approach, I always find that I have to come back to that track and make some more aggressive tweaks on the volume to make it sit better within the mix. But with the second approach, the kind of ground-up approach, I find that it fits in the mix better, and I do sometimes have to tweak it, but I have to tweak it a lot less. It seems to sit better within the mix the first time I do it. Now it does work well with drums, and especially works very well with vocals when you're trying to get them to sit nicely within the mix. So I definitely recommend giving it a try and seeing if it works for you. And if this video has been useful to you, then definitely subscribe to my channel. As I mentioned, every single day this month, I've got a brand new music production tip, so definitely subscribe and hit that notification icon so you're notified the moment that pops up online. And hopefully I'll see you again in the next video.